All right, this is Roman Gennaro of Empire Sports Talk breaking down my regular season standing predictions for the NFL this season, one division at a time. Last but not least, we have the NFC South. This one surprised me a bit, and I'll tell you why shortly. Leading the pack and making the playoffs, I have the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr is getting a fresh start with the Saints from a team that did not want him. The last couple of years with the Saints have made Jameis Winston look pretty good when he's been on the field. Derek Carr has come into camp looking rejuvenated, literally looking better. He's in much better shape this season. He's got something to prove to himself, to his fans. I do think the Saints have the best roster in the division, and if Michael Thomas is healthy, paired with Chris Olave, that makes a great wide receiver tandem. Alvin Kamara is back with the Saints, although he will be suspended for the first 3 games of the season. So I do have the Saints starting 0-2 before beating the Green Bay Packers in week 3. But one of those games, week 2, is against the Carolina Panthers, and depending how Bryce Young acclimates, they could pick up 2 of the first 3. They could pick up that game without Kamara, but right now I have them starting 1-2 in his absence, and they finish the year 10-7, win the division, lock up the 4th seed in the NFC in the playoffs. I have them as the lone representative of their division, even though I do think there is a lot of things to like about some of these teams. Coming in second, I have the Carolina Panthers. I like the roster. I like the coach. I think Bryce Young is a really smart quarterback. They've made some moves. They got him Adam Thielen, who has moved on after many great years in Minnesota. They got him Adam Thielen. I just think that the first year in this division that is much improved all the way around. I just don't know if there's enough. I don't know if there's enough to get them past that 500 mark. I have them at 8-9. I do have I do have Bryce Young winning his first 2 starts of his career against Atlanta and New Orleans because, like I said, New Orleans in week 2 will still be without Alvin Kamara, so there's a chance that they steal that one. But then after that, it gets a bit tough. They in week 3 they have Seattle, followed by Minnesota, Detroit, and Miami. It'll get a bit tough for Bryce Young pretty early on, and starting 2-3 going into the bye week may be a little bit tough to overcome, considering that they play Indianapolis, Dallas, New Orleans, Jacksonville, all in the second half of the season. I have them finishing at 8-9, but I do believe that team has a bright future in this division, especially once Cam Jordan retires in New Orleans. The surprise to me is that I expected, before I looked at schedules and made my predictions, I expected Atlanta would be the surprise team. I expected Atlanta would be the surprise team, maybe sneak into the playoffs. That they would do what I have the Colts doing in the AFC, and sneaking in. But once I looked at the schedule, I love what they're doing there. They've got Kyle Pitts back, or as one of the great young tight ends in this game. Drake London is a good young wide receiver. They added Bijan Robinson, who is going to be one of the best running backs in this league in a couple of years. They've made a lot of additions on defense as well. This is a much improved team from a year ago, but looking at the way their schedule is shaped, it's going to be tough for them to pick up more than 6 wins, which is what I have them at. They face Detroit and Jacksonville in back-to-back weeks, week 3 and 4, and then in week 7 they go Tampa, Tennessee, Minnesota, Arizona, then a bye, then the Saints, the Jets, the Bucks again, the Panthers, the Colts. Some of these schedules, win loss wise, may look easy, as the Falcons have one of the easier schedules win percentage wise from their opponents, but it depends sometimes how they're stacked up, and it just gets a bit tough when when I have them losing 4 in a row going into their bye week. I do have them losing to Arizona in week 10, even though I said that there's a possibility that they're the worst team in the league. So that's they could pick one up there, depending on how good Baker Mayfield and or Kyle Trask is for Tampa. They could pick one up there. I have them splitting with Tampa, but they could easily win both or they could lose both. That's the question. Speaking of Tampa, I have them bringing up the bottom of the division. Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback, but coming off of Tom Brady, it's gonna be a harsh change. I think that defense is still good. I think that roster still has good bones, but I think there's going to be a struggle to iron it all out, trying to figure out who's going to replace the GOAT. And I do have them at 4-13. This is probably where there's the most wiggle room among records. They start with the Vikings, which they could win. I have them losing. Then they have the Saints before their Week 5 bye. And they come out against the Lions, then the Falcons, and then late in the year or in the middle of the season they have Tennessee, San Francisco, Indianapolis. I have them losing all three. They could realistically win two of those. So this is the team where I think the schedule has the most play, has the most disparity between what could be. They could be a 7-8 win team, or they could have what I have here. This is a worst case scenario at 4-13. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that team and see how that shakes out. But as of now, I have the New Orleans Saints as the lone participant from the NFC South in the postseason as the 4 seed. Stay tuned to see how these predictions shake out in the playoffs. More to come on that. Stay tuned.